believe the decision is made that you do that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Matya. If we could have a roll call.
Colin Barnes, Nina Fontana, Vickie Hernan-Faivre. Here. Mary Hess. Here. Tom Matya.
Here.
Victoria Newport. Here. Tracy Williams.
Here.
Thank you. We rise to the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have a pledge that we'll read, and if everyone could stand, we'll just read it together. I think that'd be the easiest way. If you could just,
a new board member?
I think everyone, it's up to you, but everyone can stand and then just raise your right hand. I, Jim Briscoe, do solemnly swear that I will
You want to say our names?
Right. No, you guys should read.
Oh, repeat.
You should repeat. I,
Tom Matya.
Tracy Williams.
Do solemnly
swear
swear
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of DeKalb Community Unit School District 428 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board, while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting. And
I shall abide by
majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
the next task here is to nominate nominations for president. Are there any nominations for president?
I nominate Tom Matya.
Any other nominations? If not, could you take a vote?
Vickie Hernan-Faivre. Yes. Mary Hess.
Yes.
Tom Matya.
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
Tracy Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now we will have the election of our vice president. We'll open the nominations for vice president for the Board of Education.
Tracy Williams.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, may we have a roll call?
Vickie Hernan-Faivre.
Yes.
Mary Hess.
Yes.
Tom Matya.
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
Tracy Williams.
Yes.
Congratulations, Tracy. Now we will have nominations for board secretary. Any nominations?
Nominate Vickie Hernan-Faivre.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mary Hess.
Yes.
Tom Matya.
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
Tracy Williams.
Yes.
Vickie Hernan-Faivre.
Yes.
Congratulations, Vicki.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will vote, we will appoint our board clerk. It's been recommended that the Board of Education appoint Vickie Haeseker as the board clerk of the Board of Education. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
Tracy Williams.
Yes.
Vickie Hernan-Faivre.
Yes.
Mary Hess.
Yes.
Tom Matya.
Yes. Okay, now we have to appoint our board treasurer. It's been recommended that the Board of Education appoint Andrea Gorla as the treasurer of the Board of Education. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tracy Williams.
Yes.
Vickie Hernan-Faivre.
Yes.
Mary Hess.
Yes.
Tom Matya.
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
proclamation of new board members. It has been recommended and motion be made that the Board of Education approve the abstract of votes from the office of County Clerk and declare Vickie Hernan-Faivre, Victoria Newport, and Mary Hess elected to the Board of Education on April 9th, 2013.
So moved.
I will second that. Roll call.
Vickie Hernan-Faivre. Yes. Mary Hess.
Yes.
Tom Matya.
Yes.
Victoria Newport. Yes. Tracy Williams.
Yes.
Congratulations to our new board members. Please join me in welcoming our new board members. This is supposed to work. I don't know, can you hear me? I'll speak loud. I'll just hold it here. Okay, tonight is a annual meeting that is one that is a celebration of student achievement and recognition of teachers that have put in significant time, also administrators that have worked in the district for a number of years, as well as recognizing our honored retirees from District 428. So this will cover a lot of items this evening because we want to do this right for all of the service they provided our school district over the many, many years. First, we're going to recognize two of our students, Kelsey Faber and Justene Jennings, for their very successful performances at District 2 FFA Public Speaking Contest. Kelsey placed first for extemporaneous speech on determining the best time to sell agricultural products, and Justine placed fourth for the recitation of the FFA Creed. Due to Kelsey's first place achievement at the district level, she advanced to the state competition last weekend, where she placed first out of 10 contestants in the extemporaneous category. She was given a topic and 20 minutes to prepare before her speech. She placed first and will move on to the national contest in October at the National FFA Convention. Do we have a motion to officially recognize these two fine young ladies? Moved. Do we have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
If we could have both Kelsey and Justine come forward, please.
Kelsey, do you really have it figured out exactly when to sell ag products? Because if you do, I got a job.
And if you guys could come here and the board would like to shake all your hands. Now, I do believe the teacher, is the teacher here?
Sarah Peters.
Sarah? Sarah, would you like to say a few words, please?
I just want to congratulate these girls for their hard work. They put a lot of time and effort into those projects, helping advance to the national level to represent DeKalb and the entire state of Illinois at National FFA Convention.
Sarah, was there any other activities you wanted to report on for your end of the year activities?
The officer team has presented their annual report. If they could come up and present that to you at this time, would that be okay?
That'd be great. If you don't mind, you can kind of stand so you can face the audience as well. We can hear you well, okay? Please introduce yourselves before your reports.
I'm Kelsey Faivre. I'm the Vice President of the FFA. I'm a senior. That about covers it.
I'm Rachel Cloud. I'm a senior. This is my second year at FFA.
My name's Katie Arndt. I'm a sophomore, and this is my second year in FFA, and I am your chapter secretary.
My name's Evan Freilich. I'm the chapter historian, and I'm a junior this year. I'm Jennings. I'm the chapter president this year, and this is my 4th year in the FFA program.
I'm Eric Gummel, and I'm a junior this year, and I'm your plot manager.
I'm Dakota Howe. I'm the Sentinel, and this is my 3rd year in FFA.
Anything you want to mention in your report?
Basically, it's just an overview of all the activities we've done throughout the year, so you can flip through. There's officer bios, and basically just a summary of all the things we've gone to and all the things we've done and accomplished over the past few months.
What was the highlight?
Oh, there were a lot.
Everybody has their own personal highlights.
Okay.
You have your land lab planted yet? If you do, you're ahead of everybody else.
You want to promote your sale?
Pardon?
Are you guys having a sale?
Oh, yes. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the 8th and 9th, we're having a plant sale from 2 to 6. In the greenhouse.
And great deals?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, okay, good.
And proceeds from that go to help out the horticulture and ag classes at the high school.
And if no one knows where it's right behind here?
Yep, the
behind your
greenhouse
building?
is at the back of the school.
Okay, I'm trying to help you here, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't seen the greenhouse, take a minute to stop by. They do some awesome stuff in there. Poinsettias over the holidays and now this sort of thing. And it is back there in hiding where if you didn't know it was there, you'd never realize what's going on. So it is worth the trip. They're doing some really neat stuff.
Well, thank you for your report. I appreciate that you've taken the time to come this evening. And again, congratulations to our 2 speech contestants, and wish you luck with the plant sale. So thank you much. Let's hear it for these fine young people. All right, next we will recognize the DeKalb High School forensics team. The Board of Education will recognize the students of the DeKalb High School forensics team for winning their 9th consecutive sectional championship on Saturday, February 9th. The team finished first in the field of 26 qualifying teams and led the pack in qualifying 9 events for the Illinois High School State Association State Finals in Peoria. The team members are Chris Clark, Kelsey, and please come forward. Chris Clark, Kelsey Faber, Sam Hine, Jamie Jennings, Sarah Gillett, Jacob Moss, Denise Spiratos, Andrew Stratton, and Lauren Zelaya. And if we could, I'd like, I don't think Mr. Solomon's here, but I do believe Mr. Fontana's here. And TJ, if you could come forward and say some words about this fine class.
Absolutely. I'd like to introduce 2 other members of our team we have here with us tonight, Ellie Seitzinger and Deborah Neff. What you see here are 8 or 9 people who are representing over 60 members that we had on our team during the course of the year. We competed at 11 tournaments during the year from late November through the middle of February, and Mr. Matya mentioned a few of our highlights. We also earned as a team over 200 individual medals during the year, and had a great round of success there at the end. So what you're seeing here is actually all seniors right here, so we're bidding goodbye to them this year. Most of them having put in 3 or 4 years worth of really solid effort for us. And just an absolutely great group, and Mr. Solomon and I feel very, very lucky to have gotten to work with them during this time. And, thanks, guys.
Who's the captain? Okay, well, I only have one of these, so I will give that to you. Come on back, another board would like to congratulate all of you. So, Chris, congratulations.
Good job. Good job.
Congratulations.
Andrew, good job.
Congratulations.
This is awesome. Good job.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Nice job. Nice job.
Congratulations, Mr. Fontana.
TJ, I know you and Greg are pretty humble, but you've had a very successful program. How many years have both of you been the instructors for this?
Greg's been coaching the team for 23 years, myself for 13 now.
Yeah. Let's hear it for those guys. I saw what he said. He said you're old.
Yeah, he's right.
Okay, next we will recognize two of our teachers that were recognized for Excellence in Education Award winners. The Board of Education will recognize this evening Wendy Curlew, office professional at Lincoln Elementary, and Carol Best, special education teacher at Clinton Lizette, for being chosen to receive a 2013 Excellence in Education Award. Wendy and Carol exemplify DeKalb County's best teachers, administration, and school support staff, and the board is pleased to celebrate their hard work and dedication to the students and staff of the DeKalb School District. If we could have Wendy and Carol please come forward.
I think that we are. I'm Connie Rowland. I'm the Director of Human Resources for the school district, and I have with me Dr. Kelly Summers and our DeKalb Regional Superintendent Amanda Christensen, and we are here just to explain to you about this award and also to recognize all of those from the district who were actually nominated.
Good evening, everyone. It's so awesome when I get to be here in a variety of roles, not only as a leader, but also as a parent. Hi, son. I was very fortunate to be able to already once be at the award ceremony and say wonderful things about these educators. But tonight I want to give you just some background information on what this award is. So what is the DeKalb County Excellence in Education Award? This is an award given yearly by the DeKalb County ROE, that's what I'm a part of. Nominees are from throughout county school districts. Requirements to win the award include nominees are exceptionally skillful and dedicated teachers, administrators, or support staff in a DeKalb County school who are planning to continue in an active teaching, administrative, or support staff status. Nominations are made without regard to age, sex, race, religion, or educational position. Nominees have the respect and admiration of students, parents, and co-workers. They should play active and useful roles in their communities as well as in their schools, often distinguishing themselves as a leader in their field of expertise. Their most important quality should be their superior ability to inspire a love of learning in students of all backgrounds and abilities. This year, DeKalb School District had 5 nominees. Of those 5 nominees, 2 won the Excellence in Education Award. Wendy Curlew won in the support staff category, and Carol Best won in the secondary teaching category. Here are just a few of the comments that staff and students made about the nominees and winners.
I'm going to read just a few of the words that were said about David Chuna, who was one of our nominees. David has worked as a security assistant at DeKalb High School for 12 years. The day begins for students and their families with Mr. Chuna greeting them in the parking lot. David serves as a beacon for students, staff, and community members. Among these people, his name has become a household word, a word for honesty, openness, encouragement, and integrity. In addition, some of our students wrote a statement about how Mr. Chuna has impacted them. And the statement is that Mr. Chuna says hi to us and always makes us feel special. He makes sure the students in the school are safe. Mr. Chuna is the best. and that's from our SOL program students.
Another one of our nominees was Ginny Omerad, and this is a statement that was written about her. I believe the most important attribute a middle school guidance counselor can possess is the willingness to listen. A counselor must listen to the students, the staff, the parents of the community, understanding the issues they face. Then the guidance counselor must be a guide to help facilitate resolve to situations students face on a daily basis. He or she must find a way to help the students to see their strength and encourage them to use those strengths to move forward past the hurdles of middle school and find success in both academics and in life. Throughout the years, Ginny Omerad has consistently shown herself to be a gifted counselor and mediator of students. Middle school is a sensitive time in the life of a child, and Ginny excels at understanding this reality. Her insightfulness, compassion, and care are proven every day by the effectiveness of her many student groups, as well as with her individual counseling sessions and peer mediations. Ginny is filled with empathy for all of her students, maintaining a warm but professional manner in order to best serve them. And I believe Ms. Omerad is in the audience. Ginny, would you please stand up?
Mr. Dan Kenny was also one of our nominees this year. And some of the words that were written about Dan is that he's demonstrated competencies that are only seen in experienced educational leaders. His work as the district's energy conservation manager has saved the district over $1 million in energy costs and deserved recognition from the DeKalb Board of Education. 3 years ago, he created a school garden that afforded students the opportunity to plant, cultivate, grow flowers, fruits, and vegetables. The success of this endeavor resulted in the establishment of other school gardens within the district, thus making him the coordinator for the DeKalb County Community Gardens, in which he organized volunteers and wrote grants that resulted in the donation of hundreds of pounds of produce to area food pantries during the summer and fall of 2012. Mr. Kenny also created and maintains a green club for the intermediate students at Brooks Elementary. Deservingly so, Mr. Kenny was named 2010's Conservation Teacher of the Year. Last but not least, Mr. Kenny's exemplary leadership skills came into full fruition on September 26th of last year when he was able to bring the faculty from DeKalb District 428 and the faculty from Northern Illinois University and hosts of other leaders and stakeholders in education together as a cohesive and supporting learning community by facilitating an evening lecture by the acclaimed New York Times bestselling author and educator Jonathan Kozel to share his experiences and charge the audience with a mission to strive and to advocate on behalf of all students regardless of their background. Mr. Kenny, could you stand up?
And these are a few of the words that were written about Lindy Curlew. In the DeKalb community, Lindy volunteers countless hours as the DeKalb District 428 volunteer coordinator for the not-for-profit program Feed My Starving Children. Last year, she helped to motivate 750 volunteers for this worthy cause, and she has already hit 850 this year. Besides her work in the community, she sings in her church choir and plays handbells. She is also a passionate Husky fan. She is a season ticket holder for football and gathers the troops to away games. I like to think of Lindy as the central nervous system of our building. We function because of what she contributes to our staff, students, and Lincoln families as a whole. What is the motto of the Boy Scouts? Always be prepared? She is definitely always prepared. It is almost like she knows what we need before we know we need it. And best of all, she is patient. Ms. Curlew?
And here are some of the wonderful things said about Carol Best. Carol Best is one of those rare people who is not only committed to the educational growth and development of her students, she is committed to the development of the whole child and works tirelessly in every aspect of community to promote student growth and to create environments and systems that do the same. For the selfless, exhausting, and wonderful work Carol does for our students in our community, she is truly deserving of this recognition. And perhaps most impactful, one of Carol's students wrote a letter on her behalf as well. And her student wrote that Mrs. Best continually exemplifies the gold standard of special education teaching. That's not from the student. If it was, that'd be really impressive. Although you certainly do, Carol. Okay, here's from the student. Mrs. Best helps me to get my grades up. She makes sure I don't give up and I keep working. Most of my teachers in the past didn't care if I didn't get my work done. She helps me get it done and tells me why it is important. The thing that makes Mrs. Best better than most teachers is she is very caring and helpful. Every day she comes up to me and asks me how I am doing, and if I don't believe I can do something, she makes me believe that I can. Mrs. Best should win this award because she is very helpful and cares how well kids do in school. If I didn't have her, I would be failing and would not like school.
I just want to add that we would not be able to annually provide these awards if it were not for DeKalb County Community Foundation. That foundation is a very strong supporter of educators, schools as organizations across the county, and we really need to appreciate the work that they do in order to support the work that you all do. So DeKalb County Community Foundation, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will recognize one of our district teachers who received the Wirtz Award for Excellence in Education, Dr. Cindy Lofthouse. Tonight, the Board of Education will recognize Dr. Lofthouse, who is the instructional coach at DeKalb High School, for being named the 2013 recipient of the Wirtz Award for Excellence in Education. Dr. Lofthouse, I believe you have a certificate here. I'd also like to mention we had other nominees. Other nominees for this award were Dr. Lydia Gerzel-Short from the SOUL program. If they are here, we have presentations for you as well. Ms. Jenny Omerod. Jenny, and Ms. Natalia Zimmerman, French teacher at Let's again congratulate all these fine. Tonight we will recognize our teachers who have served this district for 20 years. The Board of Education will recognize the following employees with 20 years of service in DeKalb Community Unit School District 428. Suzanne Bevins, Nancy Brantner, Lorraine Daly, Lori Phelps, Mark Sykes, Maria McMillan, Gail Beal, and Sharon Blake. Please welcome.
Board of Education, we do have a small token to show our appreciation for dedicating the past 20 years of your lives to the district.
Next, we will formally recognize our retirees from District 428 this year. So before we recognize you, any second thoughts, any of you? Okay, for the introductions, I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Human Resources, Connie Roman.
Thank you. Tonight we are recognizing and honoring 11 district employees who have worked many, many hours here in the district. Combined, they have 226 years of service to the DeKalb School District. We have asked that a friend and colleague speak on behalf of each of them. So at this time, I would like to start with Jackie Mazinowski. Jackie is a member of the Human Resources Department at the Education Center. Jackie has been with the district for 15 years, and Ms. Shannon Whitaker is going to say some words on her behalf. So Shannon and Jackie, if you would please come forward. Before we start, I just want to share that I have had the honor of knowing Jackie many, many years. One of her children was in my second class I ever taught, so whenever I see him, I apologize for having to deal with me when I was such a green teacher. And Jackie was my room mom. So Jackie, thank you for that all those years ago.
Don't be alarmed by the paper clip. I have my large print version attached in case my arm's not long enough. I'm truly incredibly honored that I was asked to speak a few words on behalf of one of my favorite people in the district, Jackie Mazinowski. Jackie's been with the district for 15 years as a benefits coordinator, and I was lucky enough to have met her on my first day of work with the district nearly 5 years ago. We became fast friends, and she is someone I will consider a lifelong friend. For anyone familiar with those cute little sayings that they have out on Facebook, I recently found one that says, "You are the sh to my nanigans." And that describes our relationship perfectly. I spent my first 4 years in the district sitting in the office directly across from Jackie, and if you know her, you know she has a very distinctive laugh that is unbelievably contagious and heartwarming, yet surprisingly difficult to imitate, as I've tried many times. Our chats and our laughter were the best parts of my day. I could always count on Jackie for a laugh. Whenever I would have a bad day and I would trudge across the hall, sit down and start the event, she would be right there to slide the Employee Assistance Program card across the desk to me. I built up quite the collection over the years. Jackie has some big shoes to fill, and I know this from personal experience. Having been her backup when she was out of the office, I can honestly say my least favorite words in the English language quickly became, "I'm going on vacation." I knew I was in for a week of fielding calls from nervous employees, retirees, and vendors that had established a strong rapport with Jackie and who only wanted her assistance. And it is no surprise why. Jackie goes above and beyond in her position, sitting in on phone calls with doctors' offices to help resolve billing issues, helping expectant parents navigate step-by-step the new world of family coverage, and giving out her personal cell phone number to assist employees after hours are just a few of the plethora of things that set her apart from the rest. In a district of about 800 employees, I think she knows just about every single one of them, their position in the district, what their current benefit package is, their children's names, and even quite possibly how they take their morning coffee. Jackie is such a genuine person with a huge heart, and she is an easy person to talk to, which made her natural in this position. She is kind and compassionate and has an uncanny ability to calm any situation. Working with Jackie is kind of like working with your mom. If McDonald's forgot to give you a straw for your soda, you know Jackie would have a stash in her desk. If you tell her you're feeling bad on a given day, she'll produce a scale from underneath her desk just so you can check to be sure. If you forget what holiday it is, just visit Jackie's office and it will be decorated accordingly. I will miss Jackie so much, both as an employee and as a friend. I would personally like to thank her for her many years of unparalleled service to District 428 and for her unwavering friendship, and I wish her much happiness and fulfillment in retirement. She definitely deserves it.
I look forward to living happily ever after.
Next, I would like to introduce Chris Brady. Chris teaches kindergarten at Brooks Elementary, and prior to that, she's spent many, many years with our pre-K program. She's been with the district for 25 years, and we have Penny Hallstrom, Kathy Palmer, and Kathy Smith to speak on her behalf.
I have to speak because Kathy was afraid she'd cry. So, and we're early childhood educators, so we have to have little props. And this is story time. We're going to do an ABC story about Chris Brady. The ABCs of Chris Brady. A is for apples of appreciation to Chris for her 25 years of service to the DeKalb School District. B is for being a founding staff member of Gwendolyn Brooks Elementary School in 1999. B is also for the bathroom breaks, which she will no longer have to schedule during her playing time. C is getting out of the in the nick of time before the Common Core standards kick in. D is for dental health. Chris will no longer have to pretend to be thrilled to peer into each kindergartner's mouth when they announce, "Mrs. Brady, I have a loose tooth." D is also for her daughter, Erin. E is for exemplary early childhood educator. Chris has always been an advocate of young children and the importance of quality, developmentally appropriate programs that support both at-risk children and their families. And F is for the more than 4,000 pre-K and kindergarten District 428 students and families whose lives she has impacted during her career. F is also for the fun she will miss shepherding 28 5-year-olds on the annual field trip to the pumpkin patch and chasing rogue pumpkins rolling down the aisle on the bus. G is for her new role as grandma to twin grandsons Liam and Michael. H is for her husband Bill. And I is for the Illinois Association for the Education of Young Children Champions of Children Award that Chris won in 2009 for her continued belief and advocacy for the rights, well-being, and needs of young children. We have to toot Chris's horn because she doesn't do that. I didn't even know she won the award, so she's not one to brag about herself. J is for sitting in junior-sized chairs and trying to jam the straw into those hermetically sealed holes in the juice boxes. K is for the new challenge of becoming a kindergarten teacher for her last 2 years of her career and for putting up with Kathy for 23 years. L is for serving on the committee that developed the Illinois Early Learning Standards used by the Illinois State Board of Education. M is for the pre-K matrix she co-wrote. The matrix determines eligibility in the District's 428's pre-K program. The matrix was so successful it's been used as a model by many other pre-K programs in Illinois. N is for serving as a member of the National Association for the Education of Young Children for more than 12 years and for serving as president of the local chapter for 3 years. O is for being so organized, and I want to be like her when I grow up, but I don't think that's going to happen. P is for pre-K coordinator. Chris Brady directed this very important program for 18 years. P is also for her very own secret Play-Doh recipe that Kathy is hoping to inherit when Chris leaves the building. Q is for her quiet voice and mannerisms that belie her strength, compassion, and determination. R is for the ratty red crown and the hours of work and dedication it represents. We have a secret club on Friday nights. Whoever stays the longest wins the crown. It's not an honor. S is for her two sons, Sean and Kevin, and her son-in-law, Nick. T is for the Toy Learning Center, another program that Chris developed and ran for 7 years as part of the pre-K program. U is for unique and stylish outfits. No one would ever look at Chris and say she looks like a schoolmarm. V is for volunteering. Chris has volunteered as a member of the Early Childhood Advisory Committee at NIU for the past 13 years. W is for her warm and welcoming personality. W is also for surviving her last winter at school, a teacher's least favorite season because it means drippy boots, lost mittens and hats, 28 pairs of identical black unlabeled snow pants, dripping noses, wiped on sleeves, and inside recess day after day after day after day. X is for all the extra time Chris will now have to pursue her passions, including Y for yoga classes she loves, and which she'll need even more now because she won't be as flexible as when she had to spend her days sitting on the carpet with her class and trying to get back up again without the assistance of her two strongest students. And finally, Z is for the end of the alphabet and the end of Chris's career as a professional educator. She will leave an empty space at Brookston in our hearts, but we who worked with her over the years know that whatever she chooses to do and wherever life takes her, she will continue to inspire, nurture, and encourage those lucky enough to know and love her. We love you, Chris, and thank you for being the quintessential early childhood educator, for showing us the importance of play, imagination, quality literature, laughter, and a sense of humor. But we especially thank you for being our friend, for your support and strength during tough times, sharing your wisdom and encouragement, and your willingness to always lend a hand or hug. Good luck, and remember there's an open invitation to come back and join Kathy and me on Friday nights.
At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Dan Kenny. Mr. Kenny is a 4th grade teacher at Brooks Elementary. Prior to that, he was also a middle school teacher, and he has worked in both of those capacities for the past 19 years. Brooke Condon and Cheryl McInerney are going to say a few words on his behalf. Cheryl just keeps coming back and back. We can't get rid of her.
I'm going to let Cheryl go first since she's retired. I imagine she's been working this for a long time, and I probably won't have any time when she's done, so.
Hi, everyone. Dan Kenny's been a traveler. He started teaching as a long-term sub in 4th grade in Galesburg. He headed north to teach in St. Charles for his first teaching job, then south to Hinkley Big Rock before coming to DeKalb. He began his life as a bard at Huntley Middle School, and then, thank God, had the good sense to come over to Rosette. There he started his first community garden. What he didn't expect to grow out of those raised beds was the lasting impact of working with in-school suspension kids as they worked the soil, talked smack, pulled weeds. This experience led Dan to become more involved in peer mediation groups. Dan wanted to teach because of his desire to have an impact on the world, to make it a better place. He's been recognized for those efforts in 2010 by being Teacher of the Year for the Soil and Water Conservation District, nominated for Excellence in Education in 2012, and was awarded a Certificate of Appreciation by DCP SAFE. Dan's involvement in 428 went beyond the classroom. He's the district's energy manager and would like to remind you to turn your lights off when leaving a room and always recycle. This work led him on a larger scale to be a member of the City of DeKalb Citizens Environmental Commission. Dan's leadership became more involved over the years as he continued to strive to make a difference. He represented his school by being the DeKalb Classroom Teachers Board of Directors. For many years, Dan has also served on the District Safety Committee, the Facility and Planning Committee, and the District's Multicultural Committee. He is the current president of the Board of Trustees for Hope Haven and the Unitarian Universalist Church. And that garden he started at Rosette, that grew, pun intended, to his current passion, the DeKalb County Community Gardens, which provides free, fresh, organic produce to those in need. Looking for a volunteer opportunity? See Dan after tonight. Yes, Dan, I think you've made an impact, living your personal mantra of live, love, laugh, and leave a legacy. Now, you might think this is all too good to be true, that Mr. Social Justice here might not have a flaw when it comes to living healthy, respecting the environment, or just helping someone out. Well, just recently, Dan bought his 4th grade kids at Brooks a treat, and it wasn't vegetables. A rich, gooey, sugar-filled sweet dreams cake was eaten in record time amid cries of pure non-organic joy. What will he do next? Dan is a traveler again. He and Malin will head to the Northeast this summer, next year to Kenya. He is a published writer and is a poet in his soul, so he can travel wherever his pen takes him. He hopes to be working in one of his gardens next August on the first day of school. He might look up and see a paper airplane from one of his flight days at Rook fly by. And then he's going to take an hour for lunch.
Brooke, were you going to say anything?
Nope, she covered it all.
At this time, if we could please have Glenda Lundgren come forward. Glenda is also a 4th grade teacher at Brooks Elementary and has been an employee of the district for 25 years. And Ms. Christy Bacheski is going to say a few words about Glenda.
If you paid any attention to children's literature and elementary education, there is one book that you are sure to hit, and that's If You Give a Pig a Pancake. Only to be followed up by If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, and I believe at some point we gave a moose a muffin. In that vein, I would like to tell my story. If you gave Glenda Lundgren a class of kids, they would see through her example the importance of preparedness and hard work. They would walk single file down the hallway, following her with a smile on her face, and she doesn't even have to look back to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. They would have phenomenal handwriting. They would still be learning social studies on the last half day of school. I kid you not. They would have a structured environment they could count on and would be held to high expectations. When her students reached 5th grade, they would say she was determined, no nonsense, hardworking, strict but fair, they made that point very clear, and they were all certain that they were better for it. She would make sure that every minute of their day was educationally sound, and if you gave Glenda Lundgren a class of kids, they would know their stuff. If you gave a school Glenda Lundgren, her car would be the last one in the parking lot at the end of the day, and the sun would have long been down. You would have a teacher that didn't seem to recognize that this was her last year teaching and kept striving for ways to do it better and worked late, late, late. You would have a resident gardening and landscaping expert who would share her knowledge with enthusiasm with you. You would eat better because you would have stolen all of her recipes. You would throw away all of your medications because Linda always had a better home remedy. You would know all about her 3 kids, Tate, Cass, and Aaron, and her 6.5 grandchildren. 1 on the way, in case you didn't figure out that half part there. You would also learn about her dog, Paco, who flunked service dog training, so she rescued him. You would have a teacher who would give it to you straight, and yet the ability to show such compassion for those around her. You would have a teacher that taught first grade for 23 years. Bless your soul. I did it for 2. They about killed me. And flawlessly transitioned into 4th grade her last 2 years. She embraced the change and showed amazing enthusiasm for her new role. If you gave me a friend, I couldn't be happier than to have one in Glenda Lundgren. As a colleague, she has shown such dedication to her work, such desire for children to succeed academically, and always knew that guiding their behavior would lead to academic success. We are happy that her husband, Larry, will get to see her more. This is what she looks like, Larry. But we are sad that we are losing her. She always kept me going with our conversations, her sense of humor, jokes you never saw coming, and her strong sense of integrity. I will miss her. Brooks will miss her. But she can leave knowing she left a lasting imprint on those who were fortunate enough to know her. Congratulations.
Some of you may think she's retiring because of years of service, but in reality she taught all 3 Williams boys how to read and soon after announced her retirement.
At this time, I would like to introduce Mrs. Linda Fulton. Linda is a language arts teacher at Huntley Middle School. She's been employed by the district for 22 years, and Sue Merritt is going to speak on Linda's behalf.
Good evening. I am here to introduce Linda Fulton to you as Huntley Middle School's 2013 retiree. Though Linda has been with the district for 22 years, I would like to speak to you of the years that I am most familiar with, the years that I've been here, the last 12 years at Huntley. Linda is presently an 8th grade language arts teacher, but that has not always been the case. When I met Linda, she was teaching language arts to 7th graders. I had been hired as a long-term substitute teacher for a 7th grade language arts class, my first position, and I was very green. I had heart, but I was definitely green. Linda would occasionally stop by and see how I was doing. I always shared with her my plans for the class, and she was always willing to share her expertise, support, and a few supplemental materials as well. As I got to know Linda, I found out that this was a very important trait of hers, sharing. As a language arts teacher, Linda created a classroom library that she shared with her students. I believe she had nearly as many books in her personal library as they did in the school library. She really believed that each and every student should have books at their fingertips, and she truly made that environment come true in her classroom. As much as Linda is a proponent of reading, she also firmly believes that writing is of equal, if not greater importance in a student's education. Regardless of their prior experiences with writing, Linda believed that all children should express themselves through the written word. Given the opportunity, they could rise to the occasion and produce work that they could truly be proud of. So she went to work, brainstorming ideas. Her goal in mind was to unleash the creative juices she knew were bottled up inside those children in front of her. I'm familiar with a few of Linda's original projects for the students, but the one that stands out to me most is her Raising Dragons project. Their assignment was to create a book or booklet telling just how they raised and trained dragons, including tricks, secrets, and nuances in the field that no one else may know. Students came up with rules and methods for training the finest and most fearsome dragons in the world. So captured by the project were the more confident writers as well as the insecure ones. The project was ideal by its design because whatever methods for raising dragons the students conveyed, they were already starting as experts. Within their writing, they learned to make their words specific and have flow. Linda instilled in the students through this and many other projects the belief and confidence that they could be successful, no matter what their background, reading level, or prior performance in class. She considered them all experts. But the times changed, the environment of the school changed, and positions changed, and so did Linda's focus on subject matter. She moved from 7th grade to 6th grade as a language arts science teacher. The language arts classes were a breeze, but the science presented a new chapter for her, a challenge in teaching. But you can be assured that it included writing. Linda and her husband are continental travelers. The 6th grade science curriculum was one that Linda felt she could enhance through her and Brian's travels. Earthquakes, fossils, and landforms. What could be better to study but America's national parks? Again, designing another project for the students, now they were reporters, investigators, to share their findings about all the parks. They rose to the occasion and produced works of arts for her. But was it the project? Or was it the teacher that the students were responding to? Did they enjoy her stories of travel or the research they had to do? Well, I think it was a blend of the two. I believe Linda has a unique way of making these assignments come to life. She invests so much in her work that students are captivated and willing to get on board and go for the ride. And a ride it was. More changes in schedules, staffs, and principals making puzzle pieces fit together. Linda was headed back up to 8th grade that time, a 2-year exploration of American history. Then, it was no stopping then. We needed 2 years later, to take a 6th grade trip back downstairs to language arts, this time with social studies. But they warned her, Linda, don't pack up your books, because the next year we're going to need you in 8th grade. By this time, though, she got to teach language arts, and that was the deal, all day. That brings us to today. Linda has settled in, comfortable in her surroundings, teaching her favorite subject. And now is the time that we bid her adieu. So I present to you Linda Fulton, a teacher who has engaged our students, challenged them, and enriched their lives by being part of their HMS experience. Some students had her only once, but some were lucky enough to have her twice. HMS was lucky enough to have her for 22 years. We thank you, Linda, for your time and service. We are better for you having been with us, and we only wish you well in your adventures to come. Just remember, write us.
Next, we have Mr. Greg Henney, physical education teacher at Rosette. employed with the district for 25 years, and Jen Montemont is going to speak about Greg.
I don't need this. I have a PE voice.
That PE voice?
I use my PE voice. Hello, everybody. This is Greg Henning, as I like to call him. Greg started in Mendota Junior High, and he was there for 6 years, and he coached basketball, volleyball, track, men's tennis, and that's it. And then he went to North Boone for 2 years, where he taught PE, health. He was also the athletic director and varsity head, varsity basketball and varsity volleyball coach. And then he came to DeKalb. He's been here for 25 years. His first 3 years, he traveled and taught PE at the elementary level, so he went to all the different elementary schools, and then he spent 22 years at Clinton Rosette. First as a 5th and 6th grade building, where I met him 17 years ago, and then now as we're 6th, 7th, 8th building. Throughout his career here at DeKalb, he coached varsity basketball with Dave Roman, who was also the coach for TJ Fontana. He went through school here, and Dustin Maznowski. So a couple names there.
And Ryan Pearson.
And Ryan Pearson. Anybody else?
I'm looking.
Give him a minute, he's going to retire. He also coached varsity volleyball with Dwayne Cowley, and Katie Knack was on his team as well. All right. Some of the things that I will always remember about Greg, and the kids will remember about Greg, is his creativity. He came up with the famous 6-base kickball, which any of you who have any kids in the school district that came through our school or his school know 6-base kickball. It is the game to play. So that is probably one of the biggest things that Greg has brought. As if we're looking for a new game or something new to do, Greg's the guy to ask, because he can always come up with something really quick. I didn't know Greg before the triplets were born. I came along right after the triplets were born, so as his work wife, thank you, Martha, for his keen organization skills. I appreciate that very much. He's always the first person to tackle the PE equipment room, which needs it a lot. Many of you have been out there. But I think his students will always remember the patient, kind teacher who very seldom loses his cool, and that's hard to do in the gym sometimes. He always takes the time to make a connection with his students, make sure that those kids who really need the extra time get it from him. And he always talks to them in a nice, calming manner, which I've learned to try to do with him because I'm a little bit more excitable, if you can't tell. But most of all, the kids are going to remember his super cool basketball shots, because the hoop will be there and the wall will be there, and he'll shoot it here and he'll off, and then he'll make it. Or he'll take a kickball and go to the half court, just fling it and make it. Greg Henning's got all kinds of super cool tricks. We're going to have to bring him back for like a, I don't know, an assembly or something. CRMS will miss Greg Henning, but not as much as I will. He has helped mentor me, and I continually learn from him. And I hope he doesn't change his number, because I'm still going to be calling him. And I'm still going to be asking him questions and throwing ideas around. And I'm going to need help with Dan Weller. He's had to share a locker room with him for the last couple years. So, he always needs to remember also that we need good PE subs at Clinton Rosette. So we're hoping that he decides to join us in that manner as well. But most of all, I'm just going to miss having him around, getting advice from him, buddying around with him, and Rosette's not going to be the same without him. Thanks very much.
Softball with this guy.
There you go.
There you go. At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Bill Holland, mathematics instructor at DHS. Mr. Holland has been with the district for 16 years, and Jeff Murphy is going to share some words about Bill.
We could have just done the back.
Yeah, we should have had all the retirees in the front. You guys all went to the back.
It's my pleasure to talk to you guys today about Mr. Bill Holland. I've been very fortunate to work with him for, well, going on 8 years now. I was a student teacher with him way back in the old building, and instilled in me just an amazing amount of how much it really does take to do this job. His effort, his tireless, just his preparedness, the amount of time that he puts into it. As you guys all know, the man doesn't sleep. It's all about the kids. He does everything for them. He has been our guru in the building forever as far as the technology is concerned. He was on the technology before there was technology. He was able to get, a long time ago exactly, I think he still has an abacus, might still be using the abacus. But when it comes down to everything, there's nothing in the world the man wouldn't do for any kid. He always puts everybody like that forward first. He will, I can't imagine him sleeping in, so I have no doubt that when he goes off into the sunset, he's still going to be teaching kids, and teaching kids, and teaching kids, and teaching kids. So, Bill, thank you for everything you've done. It's been a pleasure.
Bill did tell me he's still going to be our bowling coach, and he's going to take the team to state next year.
At this time, I would like to introduce Margaret Jankowskis, humanity teacher here at DHS. Margaret has worked for the district for 12 years, and sharing some words about her are Brad Best, Marilyn Motz, Chris LaPere, Fred Herschel, and Ann Williams.
Margaret's really worried that we're going to embarrass her, so I'm not going to point out that I wasn't born yet when she started teaching. So no age jokes. But since days of yore, Margaret, if you step up here for a second. I have a belief that pets and plants pick their owners, and when I was going through the florist shop, I came across the plant that has the tagline, making life easy and elegant. And you have certainly done that. You've certainly classed up the joint. I was a svelte 140 pounds a year ago, and then I started eating Margaret's cooking. So because she's such a chef and baker and quite accomplished, we're going to talk about the recipe that makes up Margaret Jankowskis. You first need to start with 2 heaping tablespoons of compassion. When winter had us at our lowest, gray 20-degree days, day after day after day, she came up with the idea of doing a Super Tuesday in the department. Super in terms of S-O-U-P-E-R, and every Tuesday, a different department member brought in soup. She spoiled us with her cooking. We embarrassed ourselves with our own, but she was always polite about it. Next, you need 3.5 teaspoons of honesty. Margaret's always been an advocate for what's right, be it for the kids, be it for faculty, be it for the district. Honestly, if I asked how many people in here have received an email from Margaret, about half the hands would go up. Especially up here, I know Dr. Briscoe as well, and Mr. Matya. Now I'll hand the mic over to Mr. Hughes, who will continue the rest of it.
Hi. Margaret knows full well that all great cooks don't mess around with measuring cups and spoons and whatnot. They just grab handfuls of this and that. So I'm going to grab a big handful of courage and throw that in the pot, the Margaret stew. Because Margaret has never been afraid to speak truth to power. And sometimes power hasn't been particularly interested in what she had to say. Wait till she retires. All manner of colorful things in the Daily Chronicle, right? Well, I have to admit that I've always admired Margaret's willingness to advocate for our students, even at times when it meant negative personal ramifications for her. There are certainly people in this district who can disagree with Margaret about certain issues, but no one could ever question the courage of her convictions. So kudos to you in that regard. My left hand, I'm going to take a big handful of class and throw that into the broth, right? Brett was talking about the Super Tuesday thing, and it's just always astonished me how generous, how thoughtful Margaret is. There isn't a special occasion that goes by she doesn't acknowledge. Sometimes special occasions I didn't even know existed. You'll go into the Humanities Department office on a random Thursday, and there's this huge spread for Alexander Pope's birthday or something like that, And the thing about it is, I might think to acknowledge, I'll bring food for somebody, but it'd be like a bag of cheese popcorn, In Margaret's case, it's always raspberry pistachio Roquefort with olive tapenade and some sort of cracker that I don't even know how to pronounce, right? And it's always with the idea of edifying, of enlightening, of inspiring, of making you better. Don't be cheese popcorn person. Be pistachio Roquefort person. So, thank you for helping me be a better person.
Have to have a lot of spice and salt and zest, and those are things that I think of when I think of Margaret. All of the work that she's been involved in, whether it's helping with the Poetry Slam or Mr. DHS, the Literary Festival, the curriculum work, the endless curriculum work, whether it's grading papers all Sunday over at Barnes & Noble, whether it's defending students' access to read books that really are challenging books and books that might make some people uncomfortable. Whether it's bringing in outstanding cuisine that we all think of, or playing an occasional prank, or sending an occasional insightful email, Margaret's spice and salt and zest were in all those things that we love.
The next step in this recipe is to take all the above ingredients and spread them on a layer over rolled out a rectangle of humor and forthright communication. Then you should roll that rectangle up into a tube so that humor and communication make a swirl throughout all the other ingredients, holding them in place, giving them shape, and permeating them with their flavor and zest. This humor might be the hilarity she finds in daily interactions with students, pointed witticisms, a vivid anecdote, or it might be a rubber cockroach on your desk, or a stuffed badger under your desk, or perhaps she would merely spend a year daily hiding, stapling shut, or otherwise molesting a colleague's lunch. Her communication has been called insightful, and it was never clear if this was because it possessed insight or because of the controversy it incited. But in Margaret's case, the latter was certainly because of the former.
Well, any good recipe reminds us of home, and Margaret made DHS really feel like home. And I mean that quite literally, because she would decorate our office. You would think that Martha Stewart had been there. She regaled us with food. She regaled the staff with food at morning breakfast. And I've heard that Colleen Solomon and Kelly Powell want her to adopt them when she leaves. So, she's like a mother to them. But seriously, like a recipe, she fed her students. She fed the minds of her students, the spirits of her colleagues, and the hearts of everybody who's ever met her. And I speak for myself, and I think the rest of the people in the department. It was a privilege and an honor to work with her.
Next, we have Judy Kassler, Special Education from DHS for 27 years. And speaking about Judy is Shara Joustra and Wendy Bono. I was going to say, you're not Sarah, you're Angie Johnson.
I'm honored to speak on behalf of two of our most esteemed special education teachers here at the high school. Special ed is just the actualization of every child can learn just differently. They may not learn the same day or in the same way, but every child can learn. And I think that Judy has been a part of this all along and making this happen for kids. She started teaching in 1976. She finished her master's in special ed in 1982, and she's been dedicated to teaching in 428 for 27 years. She began her career at Huntley Middle School, doing self-contained special ed and inclusion science, and then moved to the high school in 1994 to teach inclusion science, bio, and earth-based science. Throughout this time, Judy has affected many people, myself in particular. I was a Huntley Middle School teacher, and Judy convinced me to come to the high school. Judy also helped develop our TOSA position as a science coach, and has been an integral part of making a difference in students' lives. The staff and the department also had some comments and some thoughts. Judy Kassler, no laughing. Judy Kassler has had such a positive impact on the success rate of special education students in science classes at DeKalb High School. And as a TOSA in the science department, she worked tirelessly to learn the curriculum and then make modifications and adjustments to benefit student learning. Her support of the classroom assistants and science teachers is immeasurable, and her hands-on approach and no-nonsense style will be missed by all.
I told Judy this would be short. I thought this was a roast, so I had something else written. I really don't know what she's been doing for 800 years that she's been teaching. I've been 2 years here at the high school. And as a teacher on special assignment, she makes sure that the IEP accommodations for the special ed kids are all met in the classroom. She makes sure that the teachers know how to best meet the needs of the learning of the special ed kids, and then it ends up all of the students benefit from this. Most of all, I think I benefited from this. Judy's amazing with her organization and her patience. She is very creative, and we can bounce ideas off of each other. Hilarious, absolutely hilarious. In the days when you're the most stressed out, she can help make you laugh. The consummate professional. People don't know how serious she is about her job, and she does the best job she can. Very supportive to the teachers, very focused on the students, writes them amazing letters of recommendation, and students get scholarships and they get job placements, and she's looking out for their best interest. I am so glad for her that she just gets to sit around all the time now and brag about it. She said she'd only sub for me, but I won't call her for that because then I don't get to work with her if she subs for me. But she's made me a better person and a better teacher, and I'm going to miss her desperately.
Next we have Mara Lynn. Mara is an ESL teacher here at DHS. She's been with the district for 15 years. And speaking about Mara is Liz Gedeshki, did I get it right?
Gedeshevsky.
Gedeshevsky.
Well, I'm surprised Mara allowed me to come here because she did not come herself. She's a very, very, very private person, but we'll start on your journey. Mars has led an exciting life living in many places, including Spain, Canada, Brazil, and Taiwan. Do you want to add anything to that? She met her husband at UCLA as an undergrad student, and her husband was studying his PhD, and he was working as in chemistry. Very good. Okay. He was a TA. She was the undergrad. Yeah. Okay. So they got married. They moved to Brazil. Oh my gosh. And they lived there until her two twin girls turned 11. Correct? Correct. All right, very good. They moved to DeKalb because of her husband's employment, correct? And he got a teaching position at NIU. Currently, both her daughters are doctors. She's very proud of that. She has 3 grandsons and 1 grandchild on the way, and that's a surprise. Right? And they will be keeping her very busy in her twilight years in her retirement. Mara's been with DHS, the bilingual program at DHS, since the beginning. She's a true example of hours and hours of dedication, and she had an incident. A sheer sign of her true dedication. She was at her daughter's wedding reception, and she had to leave early. She had to leave early because she had to take her social studies certification exam, and she did it. She's taught bilingual government, economics, geography, and literacy. She's a bit of a humorous person, if you get to know her very well, and she's quite a joker. There were many times when she's filled in some of those things called evaluations for maybe bilingual high school liaisons, and possibly with some correct information to try to get a little bit of a rise out of the liaisons. Little did they know that she was only joking. She wrote the Formal 1 up. So I'm sure she did get a rise out of them. Martha's going to be very, very sorely missed in our foreign language and our ELL department. She'll be leaving behind one of her gemelas, which means twin in Spanish. That would be Miss Han Wheatley. Many of our students believe that the 2 of them are twins, especially when they're walking behind them. So she'll be sorely missed, mostly by Miss Han Wheatley. Thanks for all your memories, Mom.
And our final retiree we want to recognize tonight is Miss Chris Turk. Chris teaches special ed here at the high school. She's been with the district for 25 years, and Lindy Bono is going to talk about Chris.
Take the best for last.
You did. Chris Turk has been a barb all of her life. She attended the original DHS, and she graduated from the original new DHS, only to finish her career here at the second new DHS. After teaching a class, and visiting a class when we had DCSEA, she fell in love with special ed and went back and got her degree. She worked for DCSEA, 428, and now at KEC also. She's been dedicated to 428 for 25 years. Chris Turk is the type of person that puts others before herself on a regular basis. She would literally give you the shirt off of her back if you asked her to do so. Her caring spirit is displayed daily through her interactions with her students and the staff at DeKalb High School. If anyone, and we mean anyone, encounters a problem, Chris is the first one to jump in and help. And over the years, many students have called Ms. Turk their favorite teacher because of how she makes them feel and how special they are. She will be missed by many. As dedicated and a resourceful teacher, you've had an impact on many students, staff, and your vision over our vision over your career. Thank you for your commitment to the learning environment, your perseverance through the countless IEP meetings, re-evals, manifestation meetings, your diligence for the paperwork, the changes, the addendums that happen, and especially your devotion to students reaching their potential. Thank you, Chris. Enjoy your retirement.
That concludes. That concludes our recognition of our retirees, our 20-year honorees, and our award winners. Let's give them one round of applause. Thank you. Now we'll move on to acceptance of gifts and donations. It's been recommended that the board make a motion that the Board of Education accept with gratitude the donation of $250 from Northern Illinois University to both Clinton Rosette Middle School and DeKalb High School to be used to purchase curriculum materials. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Thank you, Northern Illinois. All right, we have our public comment. We have one card. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board should complete a card request prior to the meeting. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Criticism of individuals is not in order. Mr. Bennett.
I thought I had brought enough of the ones from last meeting for the new board members, but I've made a mistake. There's only one. Perhaps you can get copies. Thank you. Do you wish me to use the microphone, or? I
think you can just speak.
In the newspaper yesterday, I was impressed by the proposal to increase the early childhood kindergarten program. And I thought the program sounded very good. There was one part of it, however, that I hope can be changed. I have long proposed that we could restore neighborhood schools. Neighborhood schools are important if you want the students to learn a sense of community. They go to the same school as long as they can. Their parents get interested in the school and support it. They belong to the PTA. But if you now set up the early childhood program in one building, this means that the child is very likely to have to ride a bus to at least 3 buildings in the course of their education in DeKalb Public Schools. It means that the parents are almost precluded from taking part in school activities, especially if they have children in 3 or possibly 4 buildings. So I urge you to put the program into local community schools, elementary schools basically, as we're talking about, and to keep this as a part of the system, to have small schools which seem to work much better than large schools, and to cut down on the amount that we're paying for busing. One very short anecdote. your previous superintendent, who managed to get things going on this beautiful building. I presented him with a plan based on the rooms and the students and so on for all of the elementary schools, for how he could save $1 million out of the next year's transportation budget. And he looked at it and he studied it, and then he laughed. He said, well, you know, it's really unimportant because this isn't our money, this is state money. I don't think Mr. Briscoe thinks that way, fortunately for you. But we all pay taxes, whether it's state money or local money. Transportation is important, and I don't think 4- and 5-year-olds need to ride for an hour or two on the school bus to improve their education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. All right, now we have two presentations this evening. The first, as many of you might have read in the paper a couple of weeks ago, DeKalb High School was ranked among the top high schools in the state of Illinois and in the country. We finished in the top 10% in both of those rankings. We think, we've always known we have a great school, always known we have great teachers. As I mentioned to some of our teachers earlier, this is not just a celebration of our high school doing well, but it's also our elementary schools, our middle schools, for bringing those students to this high school. And then when they're tested, the results come out. Because this is kind of a unique test, I asked Dr. Briscoe if he would have a couple of his administration members explain the methodology of this, because I think it's very unique. Because what it does represent is not just an average of all your students, but it looks at really all of the different economic statuses, the diversity issues, and it ranks us against those measures. And so it's a very unique and qualified report, which was done by U.S. News and World Report. So Dr. Moeller and Dr. Summers.
I'd just like to say that this was good news for the high school, but again, you stole a bit of my thunder now. I was going to say the middle schools and the elementary schools that feed the children that come up and through the high school. We certainly, the high school would not have garnered this type of award without the hard work of all the district schools. One of the things I want to say about this is this report from U.S. News and World Report, I believe, really looked at the true intent of what NCLB was established to look at. Not only just overall performance, but looking at students who have been historically marginalized, primarily our low SES student and minority students. So Dr. Summers is going to talk a little bit about how this formula was arrived at, but again, I think I applaud U.S. News and World Report for reporting this in what I feel is a more equitable way in which schools should be held accountable. Dr. Summers.
So before I get into the actual methodology of how this is done, I just wanted to make mention of something that hasn't been widely publicized, and that's that Dr. Moeller was actually the principal of the school when they looked at the years of these ratings. So congratulations to you. As Dr. Moeller was saying, this is very unique because a lot of times when high schools or colleges are ranked, they're just looking at the aggregate. They're looking at how the overall student body is doing, and they don't disaggregate the results, which, like Dr. Moeller said, I think was the true intent of NCLB, but a lot of that got lost in translation. So this is a very, very big honor for the district and the school. Just to give you some specific numbers, DeKalb was ranked 64 out of 667 schools in the state of Illinois, which put it in the top 10%, as Mr. Matya said. In addition, we were ranked 2,047 out of over 21,000 schools nationwide. So we were in the top 10% nationwide as well. This earned us a designation of silver medal, which was only given to about 7% of the schools. So again, very impressive. Now the actual methodology that was used was based on examining the state high stakes achievement test at the high school level. And the first step was to look at if all of our students were performing better than state averages. And yes, we were. From there, they broke it down and looked at specific subgroups. They looked at our low SES population to determine if they were performing better than state averages. I'm proud to say yes, we are. In addition, they dug deeper and looked at all of our racial subgroups to see if in DeKalb are our racial subgroups performing better than state averages. Again, yes, we are. The third honor, which is what helped place us on the list, was looking at the percentage of our students that take AP exams versus the percentage of students that pass AP exams. And that's a very high percent. You should have written down the specific numbers, but I think it was something like 27% of our students take the AP exam, 24% pass. So many, many of our students that are taking that very rigorous exam are actually passing it. And the combination of those indicators is what earned us that top 10% status in the nation and in the state. Do you have any questions? All right.
Thank you very much. I think sometimes when we see the headlines about our school board, we hear about cuts, finances, other issues, and I think, we know what our core mission is here, and it always has been, and it's good to see that this is being recognized, and most specifically the hard work of our administration, our teachers, our principals to make this happen. So please join me in congratulating them, and we will be reminding people that we are in the top 10% of this state many, many times. Next, we're going to have a presentation on the early childhood pre-K recommendation from our finance and facilities group. As you know, this has been a program that has been in the district for many years, and in an attempt to look at better utilizing our school buildings and so forth, we charged the FFAC to look at this issue, and I believe tonight we're going to hear from is it Doug? Is it you? Or is it Connie? Scott. Connie? Scott?
No.
Andrea?
Bingo.
I didn't see a name here, so I just...
You heard from me.
Anybody?
Actually, Kathy Watkins is being seated this evening as a board member at Kish College, so she could not attend this evening. But as this committee has been active now for, I think, about 2 years, combining what used to be a facilities committee and a finance committee together, we have now spawned several subcommittees to take a concentrated look at specific areas within facilities and finance. And one area was a pre-K EC center. And I think Jessica is around to answer specific questions. But in your document, you will have 7 different areas to take a look at, mostly due to overcrowding at the elementary is what the impetus was to look at all of this. And then you'll see a map drawing some boundaries for our current schools, and a question and answer page that were presented to us, actually, I believe, by Ms. Matya to answer. And then there is a report in there that was shared with the full committee from Jessica and Lisa Gorshals at FFAC on the importance of the pre-K and EC. So with that, I don't know, Scott, if you have anything to add. Scott was on the subcommittee.
Just that the committee unanimously approved going forward with this. We think it's a great idea. It's going to cost some money, unfortunately, but I think the money to renovate Cheeseboro is to not really renovate it into a pre-K center, but basically repair it and make it a usable elementary again. That can be used as a pre-K early childhood center. It's going to alleviate some of the crowding at the elementary schools, and I think we'll be able to get rid of 2, 3, how many mobiles?
2.
Which will create some cost savings, not a lot. Unfortunately, there are going to be ongoing costs for additional administration, some energy costs, but we felt the educational benefits far outweighed the cost of doing this. As far as the transportation, I think it's there anyway, so I don't see any additional cost in having it as one center rather than spread out the district. So as a committee, we felt it was a good idea, and hopefully the board does too.
Thank you, Scott. Board members, I know you got a chance to review some of the documents. I've got a few questions, but before, I just want to open it up for any questions that you might have. Please.
Who are we directing questions to?
Ask the question, and then they'll direct.
Okay. I was just wondering, with the federal sequester and with the state of Illinois and their budget cuts, if we know if early childhood funding and pre-K funding is secure for a long term.
The monies from EDC and the IDEA grant, which is special education funds, were impacted because they are federal grant dollars by sequestration. But it is funding that is, we know what those cuts are. Andrea might be better to speak to some of that, but it's not that we're not expecting them or will not receive those funds.
And right now, there's not a definitive on what that is going to look like. That's why I think the importance was, as that building gets renovated, it's not going to be renovated specifically for pre-KEC students, but things will be sized accordingly, but bathrooms and all of that just need a facelift, basically, in there.
There weren't a lot of renovations. It was mostly repairs. Bathrooms are crumbling, the carpet's bad, it needs to be painted. Basically, it will make it into a usable elementary space once again.
Other questions? Victoria?
It's stated in here, for every dollar we spend, you get $12 back in return on investment. Does this improve our return on investment, or is it still?
Looking, like our job really was to look at the model from the educational soundness of it, and we really felt it was very difficult to argue that we wouldn't be providing more comprehensive and solid educational foundation for our at-risk learners of that early age. Where it gets difficult from the dollars and cents part of it is that it's really hard to put your thumb on what exactly that return looks like as those students go through school. The NACE document, which is kind of the premier research study that looked nationwide at what those returns were, would indicate that you can't go wrong with the savings that you'll realize in at-risk services and special education services with good early intervention, and allowing all of our specialists and educators who right now kind of are nomadic in nature, moving around the district wherever there's space, and allowing them to come together to have the opportunity to collaborate with one another, to utilize resources, to really take over that building. I mean, EC and pre-K are really loud and bumptious programs, and that's what they're meant to be. But that's really hard to put next to and in the midst of another educational setting where we're expected that there's a little bit more that there's a little bit more structure there, and it's a little more difficult to really be everything we need to be.
Other questions? If not, I've got a couple. And I talked to Dr. Briscoe about it, and I think we have a little bit of a timing issue here. One of the real benefits that I see out of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this could significantly help reduce our overflow problem that we have. However, that's going to take some work to getting there, because we might have to look at tweaking some of the district boundary lines and so forth. And Dr. Briscoe, if you could answer that, I mean, we don't have those answers at this point, do we?
No, and we talked about this at length with the leadership team in the cabinet. And here's the dilemma. The EC Pre-K is an outstanding program, and I appreciate the FFAC recognizing that and bringing it to the board. But we sat down and we got a list of questions that were sent to us, and we generated our own questions. And we looked, because we were sort of excited, well, how can we show there would be some money savings here? Because our first reaction was, if you're not aware of it, when we cap class sizes at 28 elementary, kids don't come in perfect numbers. So if you have two sections, for example, of second graders at Jefferson, and there's more than 56 students, let's say 8 more, you're most likely are going to get bused to another school in the district where that second grade class has an opening for 8 students, and that doesn't always work out perfect. That's been happening for 3 years. So our first reaction was, well, we can move some students back. When we started looking at it, and there's actually a matrix that was attached of where these student overflow students were, even if we moved, for example, let's say our course in the 4th grade, and we recognized there were 8 students out of that 28 student class, we could move back to Brooks because we're going to have an opening. Brooks is one of the places with EC. Well, we'd actually have to hire another teacher to do that, to open that classroom. And you'd still have to keep the teacher at Cortland. So with that said, we realized we would need to seriously sit down with the demographer who can actually has in his system every single student in our district. We need to analyze, again, our ELL program where they're located, because there's some implications there. The other issue I shared with Mr. Matya today that's really complicated is, if you recall, Wright School a few years ago was a choice school. And when Wright originally opened back in '02, it was my understanding it was the only school that had a full-day kindergarten. So parents really lined up to get their kid into a lottery, their son or daughter into a lottery. Now, when we closed Old Malta and moved Malta into the old Wright, and then hence moved Wright with Cheeseboro to Founders, you have a set of students over there from all over the district that are 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders now, and they still want their kindergartners to come with their brothers and sisters. So we have that complicated piece. There are other pieces. So our administration would recommend that if the board decides to open EC Pre-K, which is would be an excellent proven educational program, we would ask that we're given a year, or come back next fall by second meeting, possibly in October, after we met during the summer, and come up with a plan that we would present to the board, because I can assure you, and I'm going to be transparent about it, because we deal with it in our office all summer, these overflows, it's complicated, and parents don't want their child moved again. And we're going to have to do that to fill some of those classrooms, but we're going to have to do it so the classes are balanced at 28. And we don't believe, even when we do have this open space, that we're still feel there will be overflows. We feel we could do some redistricting that will make it a little less. So it's complicated. The EC Pre-K is an outstanding program. Everyone agrees it makes sense. There's obviously operational costs that have to be weighed. Probably another question would be, with the operational cost, with the $2.9 million deficit, is it something we can maybe move forward, get the facility ready, and see if we can continue to house EC Pre-K the way it is, and work out all the details for the following years? I mean, there's a lot of options here. But it's a great program. We're advocating for the program, but there's a lot to weigh. And the FFAC did vote on it. They're doing a lot of great work. The committees on the FFAC are, I've never seen people work so many extra hours on a committee. So I respect their recommendation. It's just, there's a lot to weigh here.
Scott, I'm not going to speak on your behalf, but my interpretation of the FFAC recommendation was as follows, and that is, we freely admitted that we had not been able to either quantify or spend the time appropriately to get all the numbers in the right columns and to have hard numbers there. The committee that worked on this was basically Scott and Kathy Watkins, and they were shorthanded and don't have the access to the demographer and the extra work that this is going to require. So when the FFAC said, we think this is the right building, here's why, it helps bring some parity to some of the other buildings, get some of the portables out. There's some things we could do in some of the other buildings that help equalize a few things if we go back and get started at Cheeseboro. And there are some things we have to do at Cheeseboro anyway. So these were all the things that led to this positive discussion, and let's take it forward, but with the full understanding that there was a boatload more of work to do. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, and that I guess what you were talking about, the moving of the children around and the redistricting seems to be a byproduct of actually getting the pre-K and early childhood together. You know, there's a lot of benefits in just doing that. I think the open space was the byproduct of that action. So I don't want that to be ignored, that getting these teachers and these kids together really helps and creates the space for them to actually do their program properly and not disrupt other elementary school kids.
And I think, myself, I agree with that. But from my perspective, where we're at this year and the timing where we are right now and the feasibility of being able to implement that this fall, on top of the fact that it will add another $300,000 annually to our budget, which would bring us to a $3.2 million deficit this coming year. I think that we can fund the upgrades to Cheeseboro through the state construction grant. I think that's a good use for that because we want to get that building functional and so forth. But I think my personal opinion is I'd like to really do all of the changes kind of coordinated, because if I hear one thing from community members, it's about how we're changing things every single year. And I think if we're going to make that significant of a change, I really would think we'd like to take our time, plan it, what the demographer says, put together a plan, bring it forward. And that doesn't mean on a parallel path, Tammy, we can't, possibly start to look at, some bids and so forth for upgrading Cheeseboro. So that's my perspective. Others? We're not voting on anything tonight. This is just an informational item. But trying to get, what are some of your other perspectives?
I absolutely agree with you. I don't know even physically how that possibly get done between the beginning of May and August.
You guys, Mary?
I think it would be a challenge, but with this being my first meeting, I'm still learning things, but, if we're going to be looking at class sizes and this can alleviate some things because of this overflow, I know especially kindergarten, first grade, third grade, or second grade teachers have.
But I think Dr. Briscoe said, I think we need to be there in another year or so. I don't think you feel like you can get there this year.
Again, the EC pre-K, we believe we could open and do that, but we don't believe that we could. The problem would be you'd be notifying parents by the time we work with the demographer late next fall that their children are going to be moved to different areas of the district. Probably the key factor to the overflow piece, that the reason we really need time is going to be communication and preparation for parents. There's going to need to be some formal one-on-one meetings with parents explaining the situation we're in. It's a good situation, but it's not a good situation if your child's been moved in another school 2 years and you live across the street from another school and we need to move them back to their home school. So communication will end up being a really interesting process, and we want to come to a public meeting in early fall, and we want feedback from the board so you're prepared when we go out and have to communicate to different we've been thinking out loud already, little minor neighborhoods that are getting bused from one end to another, we may need to bring back to home school. We want time to communicate to parents, work out conflicts, work through problems, and that'll take from fall to the time we open school in 2014.
How long did the last demographer process take?
We probably spent 2 or 3 months, and then we went to the board in the fall with that, and there were some modifications made. The problem that happens with overflows is, like I said, when classes are capped at 28 at the elementary, no matter what you do, students aren't going to come in a neighborhood school in packs of 28, and that's going to continue to be an issue, but at the same time, there's a reason we've been keeping the deficits down, and that's one of the reasons. In the good old days, we would just open another section, hire another teacher, and lower class sizes. We just simply can't do that from a budgetary. So it makes it real complicated. But again, the EC pre-K facility is going to need to be done, and there's no reason that can't be moved forward on. And
if I may, I just offer another perspective, and I don't know if it's the right perspective, but it's easy to see these two things as very intertwined when it comes to decision making. But I guess my perspective is that they're two very separate issues. EC pre-K is about educational services, and those students have guaranteed spots. It's just with our current model, those guaranteed spots can be anywhere in the district, and it moves from year to year. So those families are very nomadic. The staff is really used to picking out and setting up shop someplace different. So I don't know that that really is going to be very disruptive or traumatic, as long as we've got a center that's ready to open in the fall, which Tammy really thought that was really a viable option. Yes, that opens up space, and I know that there's lots of other good reasons why we need that to be the case, and that might take some time to really determine what can be done with the space that EC3K will exit. But I don't know that opening, my personal kind of opinion on is that KEC isn't about opening space in our buildings, but it's about building a stronger educational model. So I think it might be good to look at it as two separate things, and whether or not moving one forward and the other one not right now is the perspective of the board. I don't know, but I just for consideration.
Well, I mean, from a discussion item, I mean, we can always bring it back to the board as a potential action item that we could do the pre-K, you'd say early childhood this particular fall. But my personal opinion is where we're at right now, with the uncertainty of the state budget, we're making assumptions that we're going to get 83% general state aid, and that might be high. Yeah, I think from a budgetary standpoint, I'd rather play this one a little more conservative. So I think you're seeing where I would leave my position on this, but I don't want to preclude that from being brought forward to the board.
I could also, I mean, I think this is a great concept. It's very important to have everybody in one location, but adding $300,000 of recurring expenses year after year, when we're looking at 2.9 deficit, that has to be weighed. There has to be some weight for them.
Well, and I'm putting together the spreadsheet. You know, it would have been wonderful to be like, and this is the cost savings associated with that really hefty investment early on. But just there is no real clear calculator for that. We just know that research will solidly tell you in the long run those funds will see, but to be able to put a number to that.
I don't think anybody's discounting that, and that's what led to this whole discussion to begin with. We clearly understand the value, but I think where we have to go to, and this also was part of what the FFAC said, was there's a lot of hard numbers to get here. There's a lot more work to do on the planning. Once we start to see what that looks like, is there any savings at all in anything else that we haven't begun to think about or talk about, or transportation, whatever? How can we move some things around to minimize that near-term cash impact? So you're absolutely, I mean, I think we're all on board with the quality here of our potential long-term savings. It's what do we do near-term, and we have to quantify all that.
The other thing to think about as a board is it's my impression, and I might be wrong, but it's my impression that I think everyone in the room believes this EC pre-K is going to happen either this fall or next fall, right? So with that said, I don't know if this is true, and I'd have to, Tammy would have to help me answer this, but if we went out for bids, if we're going to get it done, and we get it done this year, okay? And I know this is a long shot, and I know I'm a dreamer, but if the state of Illinois comes in July and something happens, they do some major pension reform, and they're all of a sudden districts get a little more generous, maybe the board could revisit it, because then it would be a matter of just moving the classrooms. And I know Tammy's over there getting nervous, but the building would be ready, is what I'm saying, and we need it anyway the next year, and it'd probably become lower bids to get it done this summer anyway. So that's something to think about too. And it gives us options then in July if we can do it.
Well, I think what I'm possibly hearing is maybe Tammy to bring a proposal for the construction, the repair of Jefferson. And I think you'd want to capture the bid. How long is a bid normally good for?
Typically, it's 90 days.
90 days. But I think if we decide that we want to go ahead and implement the early childhood, we can take action on that. But we can also maybe just take action on starting the process to do the upgrade. So I think I will leave it to. And we have two board members that aren't here. I think it's really important to get their input as well. And Cohen and Ian, I know, will want to weigh in on this. So I believe we should maybe just bring it back at the next meeting and maybe have it as a potential action item, and we can decide at that time whether or not we want to defer it or not. Okay?
One other question. Are we, obviously there'd be more classroom space in that building because you're all spread out now. Would you want to add additional pre-K or early childhood classes that would then add expenses for another teacher, or more teachers?
Because early childhood is mandated programming, we really, and actually the last 3 years, have had to add classrooms because if students are eligible, we legally have to provide those services. So we will have room to grow within that building. And pre-K is the same, it's been on the rise. So we wouldn't be in a situation, we don't anticipate they'll be in a situation to outgrow the space, if that's what you're asking. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, with the space, more classrooms, but that really depends what you're saying on the population.
It would meet their needs.
It would be what?
Am I understanding what, I'm sorry, Mary, I'm really not understanding what you're asking.
Do you anticipate with having its own building that you would add additional classrooms, more students, more teachers, which would add to an operational budget?
Initially, I think that the idea would be that we serve the population that's currently eligible. Now, truly, once we're up and running, we could consider doing some tuition in for self-paid preschool. But I think, one step at a time. Right now, we just would want to make sure that we have solid programming occurring.
And a pre-K is grant funded. So if we wanted to increase our pre-K classes, we'd have to add that in to the grant. So it wouldn't be like an FTE that the district takes on. If I'm hearing your question correctly.
And is that grant comes from the state for?
That grant comes from the state.
And is that at the
funded the
83% reimbursement rate?
No. And how pre-K works is whatever the dollar amount that the state awards us is exactly what we spend. So it's a matching of the revenue and expenditures for pre-K.
Okay.
Other comments? Do you feel like you have sufficient direction? Okay. Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to our non-business consent agenda. It's been recommended that the Board of Education approve non-business consent agenda items A through G. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Before we vote on this, we'll have roll call on this. I do just want, there's a couple neat programs in here that were talked about at our last meeting that I don't think got reported. But we talked about the special needs cheer program at the high school, which I think is a wonderful program, and also the DCTA food pantry. So our DeKalb Classroom Teachers Association will be doing that at Huntley. And Jenny, will that be going up and running this year, this summer?
I think they're working to get it going.
answered?
Yes.
Yes?
It would be ready to open in June as a startup and a pilot through the summer, because the bugs out, and then hit more of a soft opening in the summer and then the hard self-implementation in the fall.
I just think it's wonderful that this is being done and we're taking formal action on this. So, could we have roll call, please, Vicki?
Mary Hess? Yes. Tom Matya?
Yes.
Victoria Newport? Yes. Tracy Williams?
Yes.
Vickie Hernan-Faivre?
Yes.
Motion passes. Business consent agenda. It's been recommended that the Board of Education approve business consent agenda items A and B. And for our new board members, just to let you know, I know a couple of you were at the last meeting. These were discussed at our last meeting. And typically, 90% of the things that we will vote on will come as an informational item, and then if there's a consensus of the board, it usually goes on business consent agenda. Obviously, at the top of we just talked about early childhood, that will not go on the business consent agenda. That will be more of another discussion next week. But just to let you know how the flow goes. So, do we have a motion to accept that particular motion?
So moved.
Do we hear a second? Second. Roll call, please.
Victoria Newport? Yes. Tracy Williams?
Yes.
Vickie Hernan-Faivre?
Yes.
Mary Hess?
Yes.
Tom Matya?
Yes. Tracy, you have
One
comment?
quick comment for new board members. Enjoy this one we just voted on. You will not see another one where we get money back for the next 4 years. So once again, well done, Tammy. All the lights with the rebates working out, that was very well done. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, next is new business. And Connie, you're going to come and talk about the FTE equivalents, increasing the certified staff for the 2013-14 school year. Connie?
Were you going to do business and finance first or not?
What did I miss? I'm sorry. We'll go back to business and finance. Tree service contractor. This is informational item. Tammy.
Recently, as a district, we have looked at the need to do some tree service throughout the district. It's not something we've done for a couple of years, but it is needed. We have several trees in the district that need significant pruning. We have stumps that need to be removed, as well as we have trees that are diseased and need to be completely removed and replaced. And so we did go out and get quotes from 3 tree service contractors based on the quotes that were received, as well as relationship that we have had with D. Ryan Tree Service in the past, and his background, his knowledge of the trees. He is a certified arborist, as well as certified with the Department of Agriculture. We, as a department, are recommending that we move forward with his quote for tree service. We have been working with D. Ryan for approximately 3 to 4 years in regards to tree service throughout the district. He's looked at all of our buildings, making recommendations of putting various crews at buildings for certain amounts of days to get all of the work taken care of at those different buildings. Today it's just an informational item, but if there should be any questions, then I can bring it back to the next meeting.
Questions for Tammy? Is this being done in every building throughout the district?
Every building needs some work, some of them more quickly than others.
And in the past, haven't some of our staff done some of the work?
We
Will
do.
they still do that?
We still do that on the trees that we can manage. The larger trees are not something that we can manage with our crew. The larger stumps, we don't have the equipment without renting equipment and spending significant labor hours to drill those stumps out. But we do continue to maintain the smaller trees as needed through our district staff, and we'll continue.
If you said that he's looked at the entire district.
Yes, he is.
Could you include that, if it's the consent of the board to bring this forward to vote on next month? Could you bring the plan of what he's going to be doing throughout the district and include that in the packet? And also the listing of the other competitive bids?
Absolutely.
Okay. Other questions on this? Is it the consensus of the board to bring this forward to a vote for next meeting?
Send that information?
Yeah, with that information, that'd be great. Thank you, Tammy. Tammy, stay right here. I know we've had some issues with the Malta gym floor and foundation, and this is again an informational item, but would you please provide us an update?
Sure. Just wanted to keep the board and the committee informed. After the last rainstorm that we had in the middle of April, our gymnasium at Malta Elementary on Route 38 did take on moisture and water. It wasn't actually moisture that you could see and mop up, but it did impact the gym floor. And we had hoped that by drying it out, by using various equipment, that the floor would lay back down because we were seeing some waves in the gym floor that is a wood floor. Unfortunately, pretty quickly, it was pretty evident that we were not going to see this take care of itself. And the floor, there are now many bubbles in the gym floor, some extending 20, 30 feet, some as high as my hip, that have bubbled in the floor. And the gym was actually closed by our insurance company as of Monday, as of last week ago Monday. Because of the concern that there are so many bubbles in the floor and the pressure that has built up, that there could be concern that it would expand and let loose basically the wood planks. So fortunately we've had really nice weather since then, and the gym classes have been relocated to the outdoors. But in knowing that we aren't going to continue to have nice weather, we don't have large space at Malta other than that gym, we have already talked to our insurance agent, our adjuster, and received approval from them that they will be paying to replace the entire gym floor at Malta. We are looking at other options besides wood for that floor. If any of you have been to Cortland Elementary, that's one of the options we're considering, is the floor that's used out there, that has been installed out there. But as of tomorrow morning at about 8 a.m., we will start, the contractor will be coming in to demo the gym floor. With that, the hopes are that we can demo it. It'll be a concrete floor. It'll take 3 to 4 days for this contractor to do that, and then we can reopen the gym to be used by PE classes for the end of school activities that are planned. It'll be a concrete floor, but it'll be better than not having a space at all for the gym classes to hold their class when it's not nice weather outside. In doing that, that's just the gym floor piece of it, but we need to prevent this from happening again. And so we've looked at many different options and scaled back from an original idea we talked about with the architect down to what we have planned for the summer. And all that is when the gym floor is up and we can see all the concrete, we are going to actually be trenching around the edge of the gym and laying drain tile. Fortunately, we have a sump pump in the storage room right next to that gymnasium that we're able to drain these drain tiles into. We can handle this all in-house. This is not something that will have to be contracted out or bid out like we were first considering, and at an extremely high cost, unexpected cost, and we'll be able to handle it with our own district staff. So that's been slated for this summer project. As soon as school lets out, we will start trenching that gymnasium and get the drain tile laid.
And the architect believes that will fix the problem?
Yes, yes. We did take on a little bit of water in a couple other areas of the building, but it was such a hard downpour rain in a short amount of time, as we all know. We don't anticipate that is, well, I should say the problems it caused were not significant in other parts of the building. There was one classroom that there was some seepage through the concrete wall, and those were the classrooms that were below grade on the northeast corner. We have 2 classrooms that are below grade there. And some other water came in some holes in the foundation that we can visibly see, for example, in our boiler room. We can patch those again in through the district staff and not have to look at an all-encompassing 6-figure project. By doing this, we can reduce the cost, handle it internally. If we determine that it's not the perfect fix and we still continue to take on water somewhere in the building, we always have that option to trench around the entire building, find a place to drain the water to, but we aren't anticipating that. And the gym floor we're looking to lay actually has a layer to it that is a moisture and mold resistant layer. If it does take on water, it's more of a foam substance that the water dissipates and dries up rather than sitting and causing water pressure to build and potentially grow mold.
Questions for Tammy? Tracy?
Just one. Was it just the rain and the amount of rain, or has something changed in the drainage there, like downstream, that caused it to back up? I mean,
you know, we do believe it was really the significant amount of rain. We've always we've had many times that we've taken on rain and moisture into the gymnasium on the east wall. There's the exterior wall on the east side of the gym. We've taken water in there and repaired that gym floor several times.
Okay.
But usually it's sections of the gym floor. We've never had it to the point. For those of you that do remember replacing that gym floor in '04, that was not caused by a rainstorm or taking moisture in. That was a pipe that broke during an asbestos abatement project and caused a flood. It had nothing to do with weather conditions. So we've kind of been fighting the gym floor issue off and on throughout the years, but have never really rectified it to prevent it each time.
Thank you.
Other questions? Is this something that would, since it's going to be done in-house, is this just an informational item?
That's all it really is at this point, because it will be coming in under $25,000 we anticipate. So it was just kind of in case there were any questions and from the board or anything.
Well, thank you for your work, and especially with the insurance company. That's good.
Enjoy.
Okay, now. Oh, we have one more? Maintenance grant. I'm sorry, man. I just want to get to your topic, Connie.
It's probably much more exciting than I am. So, there is another school maintenance grant that is available through the Illinois State Board of Education. We applied for the maintenance grant last year. That's the one that we just approved the lighting contractor for. And there's another grant that's now available, again, matching funds up to $50,000. And we need to obtain board approval to even apply for this grant. It is a lot smaller amount that is available this time. There's only $9 million available with the grant. So I've talked to the grant representative at ISB, and she's recommended highly that we look at safety projects, life safety projects. Those will be given top priority for approval. So knowing that and looking at some of the needs of the buildings, we are going to be moving forward, putting together numbers and an application to ISB by the end of May to put a new intercom system in at Founders Elementary. Currently, it's a poorly functioning system that cannot be heard in many parts of the building because it's been somewhat piecemealed over the years. Different systems have been added as different areas of the building have been added, and it's not communicating well together. So unfortunately, we have areas of dead air when they're trying to make announcements, and during an emergency, obviously that is a strong concern. That project is just estimated at this point at $75,000. And so beyond that project, we're looking at trying to get to that $100,000 level so we can get up to the $50,000 maximum matching funds. We are also in need of some interior cameras at both of our middle schools. There is a number of cameras at Huntley, but many of them are in poor working condition and need to be replaced. Clinton Rosette has a significantly less amount of current cameras, but we need to update that of what cameras we do have in those schools. I've worked with the principals, and principals have worked with the resource officers, JJ, I believe, primarily, to identify areas of the building that are in need of cameras. So these would be installed by our own staff and be purchased through the technology department and work with our current camera system for monitoring. So those are the other two numbers that are put into my recommendation. At this point, what we're looking for is just, it's informational this time, but then approval at the next meeting so we can apply for the grant. And then these projects will be contingent upon approval of the grant up to $50,000.
Questions? So we don't spend money unless we get the grant?
At this point, correct.
Okay. Sorry. The board feel that this could come back next meeting? Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Thank you. All right, new business. Full-time equivalent increase. Connie.
In your packet is an explanation of some increases that we feel we are going to need to add next year for our certified staff. Some of the items, either Jessica or Amy can speak to better than I can. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the ones that I can speak to. If you look down at DeKalb High School, we have broken it down where you can see some decrease in FTEs as well as some increase. This is a result of the freshman enrollment, some elective choice changes, as well as some repeat classes that students will have to take because they didn't pass them. And as a result, there's a 0.8 5 increase in FTE for the teachers in order to accommodate those changes at DHS. At Huntley Middle School, as you may remember, starting this school year, the students who attend Malta Elementary, their middle school that they will be attending is Huntley. Prior to that, it was Rosette. As a result, that has added students to Huntley, and in order to accommodate them through PE classes, we had to add a 0.4 additional FTE this year to accommodate those students. Next year, we will need to increase that because those 6th grade students will be going to 7th grade. We'll be getting some additional 6th graders in because of the multi-boundary changes for middle school. So that is an increase of a 0.27. I checked with both middle schools and to see is there a possibility if Rosette is losing some students, can we just shift FTE from the Rosette PE? Keeping the current staff, PE staff at Rosette, next year their PE numbers are looking to have between 31 and 33 in class, and by adding the additional 0.27 to Huntley, their class sizes will be between 35 and 37. So they're really, we can't shift FTEs because then the Rosette classes would be way too high. Let's see, at Tyler Elementary. In August, we had to add a section of kindergarten to Tyler due to the fact that the kindergarten numbers were much higher than we had originally anticipated. Our first thought was, since we had that extra FTE for kindergarten this year, we would just transfer that to a 4th grade FTE next year, because right now there are 2 sections of 3rd grade at Tyler. Those kids are going to go and be in 4th grade next year. However, after having the kindergarten roundup and looking at what our kindergarten numbers are showing, if history holds true, we are going to have a larger kindergarten class again this fall than we did the prior fall. Therefore, we are asking to add 1 FTE for Tyler. The plan would be for that 4th grade class, but we would not actually fill the position until we knew for sure it was actually needed, but we wanted to go ahead and get permission through the board, so we're not coming back and scrambling in August, trying to get the approval and get a teacher hired and get ready for that first day. In addition, there is at Founders Elementary, the bilingual special education teacher, and I'm going to ask Jessica and Amy to provide more information about that.
We're hoping that if approved, we can find such a person because it really is the identified need at the building. All of the positions that I had a hand in putting on the agenda really were about equitable access to our students across the district. We are constantly analyzing the benchmarking data, assessment data, and special education data in all of our schools. And one of the things that caught us off guard a little bit when we were looking at our elementary buildings is that Founders was clearly demonstrating via their reading scores, having students, the highest percentage of students that need additional reading supports. They also were demonstrating having the highest number of special education students not served through special programs. So we're pulling the data from those programs out. That really can skew if you are housing one of those programs, what your data looks like within the building. That they have the greatest need, and their resources don't cover that need compared to other elementary buildings. So the addition of a special education teacher who, in a perfect world, would also come with bilingual skills would allow that person to serve really all the needy leaders within the building and those eligible site services. Anna, what do you want to say about that?
Currently, we don't have a bilingual special education teacher. So our bilingual students who are mainly Spanish speaking do not get their services that they're entitled to. They get service in English, which is not appropriate due to their language needs. So that's just in addition.
Yeah, I think it's just important to put out there that we can post for this position, but we are vying with lots of other folks to try and get that particular position. So it would be our hope that we post and fill in that regard if the position is approved, but we may not be able to find somebody with those skills and certification. Any other questions related specifically to the Founders position?
How many kids do we have in there, in that category you're talking about?
I can tell you my percentage, 21% of the students at Founders were testing into the yellow and the red zone, so at-risk readers and those that are struggling. So that's almost a quarter of the population. actually, like, we've got a lot of spreadsheets on that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that if I could.
I think that'd be good to include in the document.
In addition to that, adding a .5 counselor in Huntley Middle School, again, as a result of Huntley getting more students in from that multi-switch, as well as when Jessica looked at the data, just having that equitable access to counseling supports with the two middle schools.
If no additional FTE related to counselor, our guidance counselors are added to Huntley Middle School, caseloads for the counselors in that building will exceed those in the high school. If .5 is added, caseloads will be a little higher than what Mozapville has, a little lower than what the high school currently has. So obviously we can't get that perfectly calibrated, but at least will provide equitability or pretty darn close to it across all of our secondary buildings.
Then an additional .2 for an ESL teacher at Jefferson. Currently this position is a .8, and due to mandates and an increase of students this year.
Right. Our ESL population has increased significantly at Jefferson Elementary. Northern Illinois University is actively recruiting international students and professors, and with them come their children. So we're up to 78 ELLs at Jefferson Elementary K-5. Kids with a language level of 3.5 or below require 10 periods of service per week. A period of service is half an hour. So each kid can get up to 5 hours of service per week. And we have 2.8 teachers currently serving them, and it is impossible for them to do with the increasing number. So we are asking that it be increased to a 1.0 in order to get those extra periods of service in there.
And then lastly, district psychologist.
You'll hear a common theme in all I've talked about tonight, which is just about being equitable. Mental health services across our district are provided by 3 groups in particular: our guidance counselors, our school social workers, and our school psychologists, and they're all stretched across the same number of buildings, although our counselors only serve a secondary population, which is pretty typical of in any district. Currently, we have less psychology FTE than social work FTE, but they still have to get to the same amount of kids. So the request for the additional FTE really is to allow equitable access to psychological services. In our district, though, they also very much support our RTI model, but from my perspective, they're also supporting our special education assessment process, and we continue to have a growing number of students eligible for special education services found through our system internally, but quite honestly, we have a significant population that moves into DeKalb, and I would like to think that's because we do special education really well, but we have a lot of movement students as well, so it just is a growing need that we have, and we are mandated to perform those evaluations every 3 years.
So all of these additional FTEs, when you add them up, it comes up to 4.92. Andrea, when she did the budget for the 13-14 school year, had increased the FTE by 5. So we're 0.08 left from what was added to the budget. So this is just an informational item, and with your consent, we will bring it forward to the next meeting with any additional information that you would like to see with questions or additional information.
With Tyler,
yes.
What is your second grade class at right now? Do you have 2 or 1? I'm just thinking if you're moving the 3rd graders up to 4.
There's 2 because they're
There's 2
moving
third
up.
grade and 1 4th grade.
Right.
Now that bubble of 3rd grade is moving
The
out.
one's moving into the 3rd grade.
Right, and
2
originally.
second grades. 2 second,
two second grades. And we originally planned to take the kindergartner teacher 3rd and 4th, but now
But
we
you
got.
do have this 2 in the second grade.
Now we most likely, based on our numbers, it's been pretty, kindergarten round has been pretty consistent over the years. In terms of the percentage of students we can anticipate, and compared to last year, I think it was 283 or something. We had over 330 this year kindergarten. So if we assume we're going to get the same percentage of kids, and that we're going to definitely need that second section of Tyler kindergarten.
How many classrooms does Tyler have?
Am I physical?
Yeah, that they can use for grade levels. I know they also have the mobile, but they can't have like 2 of each grade level there, is that correct?
If they did, they right now have 2 and Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, they now have 2 pre-K classrooms in the building.
Yeah, pre-curriculum,
And EC in the mobile. If those 2 pre-K were removed, they could have 2 of each.
but one of those.
But one of them is going to become a soul.
One of those EC classrooms has enough students moving up into kindergarten that they will be a special education supplementation program that at this point is being slated to be housed at Tyler Elementary.
And
So
then
we're
that-
losing a whole section of EC because they're all kind of moving up.
And will that free up then the space in the mobile for the other one to move into the mobile, which would free up then the classroom space for the additional first grade if needed? Yeah, we thought about that. Again, had to get the map out and map out where everybody's at. Other questions?
No. I just got a couple. This is, I'm all in agreement about equitable. Is the equitable problem historical, or did it just occur this year?
You know, I'm new to my position this year. I would say that founders, because of overflows, the students that have overflowed to founders, and this is a general statement, it isn't true of every student, but we found that there is a lot of need overflowing into founders. So my guess is it's probably a combination of, it's been present historically, but I can tell you it's probably been perpetuated by the overflow situation.
It just seems to me like, you know, it's a big jump to add 5 new teachers. And I'm not criticizing your presentation and being equitable and so forth, but are we playing catch up, I guess is my question, or is it just?
It's pretty discrepant. I'll just show you the spreadsheets. We even did like this color coding of needy by special education data and needy by RTI data, and Founders floats up to the top in both, but the resources don't look any different than schools that are serving many less needy students.
What we did this year, and all of us, Connie's involved in it, Amy, Jessica, I think Kelly Summers was even there.
Yeah.
The backup information we want is we basically created a huge grid with all the schools, total number of enrollments, total number of tier 2, tier 3 kids. So we got a really holistic perspective of where things are, and then looked at ratios of related services people per students, and there were some discrepancies. Again, we don't know if that's been done in past years, but we thought that was a good way to approach the process so that there was equity across the district.
My next question, are we legally required to do this, or is this our choice?
There are not like class size laws in these instances that are designating a need to have to do it legally. So.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
There are not laws in place that we are breaking by not moving forward with the additional FTE. I can tell you just from kind of what the organizations that we look to in terms of best practice are telling us for caseloads, we're really heavy, but I don't know that other districts aren't really heavy either. But when you look at resource allocation at the local level, you really want to pull standardized data sources that allow you to look across all your buildings, and that's what we did. And so we came forward today with positions we really thought would give us the most bang for our buck in terms of giving all of our students access, not necessarily classroom teachers, but just some of those other mental health and related services.
Maybe for the ESL, though, that is mandated.
That is mandated. Their periods of service, and that's how our funding is based on.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I'm not debating the need for these positions, but when I look at the overall picture, I think probably for 5 or 6 teachers, we could maybe lower K through 2nd grade class sizes from 28 to 25. What's more impactful? I mean, it's kind of a philosophical question here, but you know, there's going to be a limit on what we can add. I hear that's a demand too, and that's a need. You know, this is a need.
Yeah, I mean, I think we looked at all human resources, and these were the ones that I think that we thought were the
And I understand. I'm not critical of what the thing is here. That's not it. But I'm trying to weigh in my mind what's the right way to go, because we had that need too. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
The issue with class sizes, though, you have to remember is, do we have the space, the classroom space?
Classroom space.
I mean, I agree with you, but we have to, that's another.
Well, then that would put the pressure on Dixon Jefferson, or Cheeseboro.
Cheeseboro.
Yeah, I mean, these things kind of roll together.
They're all
And-
intertwined.
And I'm really trying to look at this from a bigger perspective, because I think sometimes we make compartmental decisions, and it restricts us and limits us down the road. So that's all. You'll make a lecture here. Other questions? Tracy?
If I could, ask for this would be helpful, and I'm not even sure how's the best way to present it, but for example, we were talking about because of the increase of kindergarten students or something, we're going to need to add a teacher. There's revenue associated with the increase in students. If you add a psychologist, there's not revenue associated with that. So what I would like to do is understand the various positions you're asking for, what may have revenue tied to those, which ones are mandated, and which ones, may or may not have revenue. So what I'm trying to match up the money flow. And then finally, incrementally, if we have 78 students at Jefferson that require X amount of time, and that's mandated, I'd like to see what that means incrementally. Because clearly, I mean, I'm very happy that NIU has their growing foreign exchange programs, whatever, but if that's an incremental cost to us, there needs to be a discussion about that. So I'd like to quantify that if we could. Does that make sense? Did I answer that right?
Yeah, perfect. Great question. I would suggest you bring it back.
Okay.
But I don't think we probably want to put it under consent agenda.
Okay.
Is that-
All of
is
them
that-
are
is that
just,
fair?
all of the positions are just specific ones? Like for, like, any of them? I just, like for DHS, the kids are enrolled in those classes, do we tell them to hold off on enrolling kids? I just need some direction on what to share.
Well, that's a net result of scheduling.
Yeah, that's a done deal.
So,
But I think what we're saying is the marginal ones, I mean, you can put them all together. And we'll vote on all of them, or some of them, or none. Bring it
however
forward.
you want me to put it on.
I think we want to consider it as an action item, but with this extra detail that
Okay.
some of the board members have asked about tonight. Okay?
You lay it out.
So I
So
think
bring
we're
it back
okay.
as a whole action with them. Okay,
I think as we stand right now.
okay, thank you.
We'll attach the dollars to.
Okay, thanks, Johnny. All right, now we're moving on to recommended revisions to school board policies, first reading. This is an informational item. Doug, I thought I saw your name. Nope, your name's not on this.
Next one.
This is yours, Jim.
Yeah.
I'm just picking on you tonight, Doug. You just relax a little bit, then I say, get up.
For new keep me awake at least. For new board members, this is really a good practice. What we have is, in the past, what boards would typically do is put a huge committee together, and you'd sit down with an attorney and go through policy by policy. Well, we belong to the Illinois Association of Schools Policy Review. It's online, and what they do is quarterly, they deal with every school district in the state. They have their own legal counsel. So they give you updates quarterly, and we're able to continue to update our policy manual. Now, sometimes they'll identify policies that don't reflect what we're doing. We'll have to assess that and make modifications. But normally, in this particular case, there aren't a lot of big changes. Probably one of the big highlights in here is that now we're mandated by the state we have to do background checks for student teachers, and usually the colleges had to do that, so that's one thing that's sort of new in there. But you can review those, and if you have any questions before they do the second reading or even the final reading, you can call and we can clarify. We all look at our policy that reflects in our different specific areas in terms of student services. You all will get a copy of the policy manual. It's online. Technically, developing policy is one of the major responsibilities of the board. Our policy manual is legal and updated right now. and it's a good thing because there's a significant amount of time that would otherwise need to be put into that. So that's just for information.
We'll get all you a full policy. Good sleeping information.
You know, and the truth is for you guys being new, is a lot of times you get parents who will call and ask, and you guys have been good about calling one of us, but I can tell you almost 90% of the time, you can give a parent a pretty good, accurate perspective by having them go online, review the policy, and it's labeled pretty good by content. So you can find out exactly what our district's position is on almost any question that a parent would ask, and what our district policy is.
Okay, that's the informational item, so we'll come back and do our consent agenda next meeting. Next, recommended revisions to school board policies, 6.235 and 7.190, first reading, information only. Doug, your name is on
Yes, it is on it. These are both related to our current technology initiatives, and so there just has to be some subtle changes here. One, for example, is just with the ability for students to be able to have open access to technology within the school. Because right now, and I think the original wording said something, talks about paging devices, which I don't know if anybody said a pager about 10 years or more, but it basically will allow students to be able to use technology, not only in the classroom, but for example, our seniors during their advisory period are allowed to be in the, if they're on track to graduate, they are allowed to be in here in the cafeteria and use their electronic devices. So it's just these are related to just opening up the ability for our students to access personal technology within school. And we really need that changing before we can start talking about either bringing their own device or just allowing them to use one-to-one technology.
And the language is pretty detailed about what they can and can't
It's extremely detailed, yes. It's
yeah, I saw it.
It talks about classroom management, talks about the access policy. A lot of this is covered in the acceptable use policy as well. But and that I think that was already approved. Brian, do you recall?
I don't know if we talked
Acceptable
about
use?
it in committee, but I don't know if it was.
So, but that's what these specific changes were regarding.
Okay. Any questions for Doug? Okay, we'll move on to...
Just moving into the 21st century.
Yeah, I understand. Item D, approval of board meeting dates and times for the remainder of this calendar year, or for this, fiscal school year. This is an action item. It's been recommended that the Board of Education approve the board meeting dates and times for the remainder of the 2012-13 school year as attached. Any comments, questions on that? We have a motion. Moved by Tracy. Do we have a second? Second by Victoria. Roll call, please.
Tracy Williams?
Yes.
Vickie Hernan-Faivre?
Yes.
Mary Hess?
Yes.
Tom Matya?
Yes.
Victoria Newport?
Yes.
Motion passes. Approval of Board of Education meeting scheduled for 2013-14. We have this as an action item. Vickie sent me this schedule. And what I'm open for this for discussion tonight. Normally, again, we don't take action, but we're kind of required to do this at this meeting. But in the past, a couple of years ago, when some of us got on the board, we decided to kind of rotate some of our meetings. And if you notice, we've been working with Dr. Briscoe on this. We have several meetings here at the DeKalb High School, which will be held in the forum room. We have two of our elementary schools represented, Tyler and Cortland. One of our middle schools, which is Huntley Middle School. We would be, it's a little bit more disruptive for Vickie and to bring all the information and so forth to these sites, but I think it's been good to get out in the district, so kind of like to get your opinions if that's enough for this coming year, or you would like to see more. We went to all the other schools. We did it over a 2-year period. We did capture all of them, including KEC, which we just finished at the last meeting.
The other option would be time. You guys had talked about time with the new board. That's something else you could, I mean, it doesn't matter, but if meeting at 6 or 7 makes a difference, that's also something.
Yeah, we can adjust the time. I think could we modify this if we, because I think we need to have the full board here. I'd really like to have the full board here it is. So we can approve this as it is, but I can take suggestions from board members, and maybe we debate the time, and then we could modify it. Is that fair?
Yeah. Or
Okay.
you could even table it to next meeting if you really wanted to. I mean, technically, you're supposed to pass it tonight, but.
Well, I think we can pass it tonight, but then we can come back and make a motion and amend it. Is that fair? We want to fill our requirements here. So, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Roll. And do we, any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Vickie Hernan-Faivre?
Yes.
Mary Hess?
Yes.
Tom Matya?
Yes.
Victoria Newport? Yes. Tracy Williams?
Yes.
Before we adjourn, I apologize. I skipped over one thing. I got a bad habit of doing that tonight. But we have, earlier in the board meeting, we have board reports and correspondence. I know we have new board members here, so I'll just tell you about the two committees that I went to. And it's the first time I went to Tammy's safety meeting, and it was really, I think you guys meet 4 times a year, something like that. It was a really good eye-opener, and I think that we can even maybe have a presentation in one of our meetings, and just to reinforce the safety that's being done throughout the district. And the other one was a technology meeting. So we did talk about that a little bit. Doug, I think there's a group going tomorrow.
Yes, they're going to visit 2 schools tomorrow.
2 schools tomorrow to visit how they are
Other than implemented one-to-one technology.
in their classrooms.
We're starting to see some common themes come out of it. Brian, do you have anything to add?
I can't make it, obviously, tomorrow, but I think we're going to have a lot of key findings out of your trip tomorrow, and really look forward to hearing the report on that. And we need to get the whole board
we're seeing a lot of
up to date on this, up to speed up.
And when we had a technology meeting and a subcommittee meeting, and what we're doing now is putting together that final timeline. With each timeline, there's going to be a reference to an Excel spreadsheet where we've got the whole year's worth of expenditures. I mean, everything from Brian and Ben have been phenomenal, and Denise Fleming have been phenomenal, putting all this together, not only professional development for our trainers, but then, when we need to roll things out and what the anticipated costs are going to be. Going out to 2016, 17?
It was 5 or 6 years out.
Yeah.
So, and the impetus for this was at our board retreat last summer. This was identified as one of the key initiatives going forward, and this committee's done a lot of work. It's represented the teachers, administrators, our technology staff, and some of the stuff out there is really exciting, and really, because of our construction demand, this might be something that we can maybe implement in our district, but I think there's a lot of homework and research that has to be done, so some more to come, okay? With that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Or a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Welcome to our new board.
Way to go.